So I am making homemade sweet potato pies here today. I roast my yams in the oven until they're fork tender. I'm explaining that obviously in the video. There was some music playing in the background, so I had to dub over top of it. But so there's a message coming through, whatever. But yeah, so I roasted the yams in the oven until they were fork tender. It means when you stick a fork in, it comes out, it's clean, and then you know they're done. I wrap them in aluminum foil to make sure that they kind of like the skins come off nice and easily. But when you roast them in the oven, there's a whole lot of natural sugars that come out, and that's what I'm showing you here, which makes the yams really, really sweet. So you don't have to actually add a lot of brown sugar or white sugar to them. You taste them after they're roasted, and you can gauge how much sugar you have to put in. Making pies is something where you can't really use a recipe. You have to use the ingredients you have to determine what you need to add. You have to know the basics, of course, but you have to guess on what it is you add. It comes with experience. So here I had already peeled them. It wasn't that hard. I took the skins off, and then I blend my yams up with milk. That's my first step. So yeah, right here. All right, so I'm blending them up with a can of evaporated milk, and I go between that and sweetened condensed milk. I use at least one can of sweetened condensed milk, no, one can of evaporated milk to 1.5 cans of sweetened condensed milk to that was about 5 to 6 pounds of yams, I believe, and I just go back and forth. The sweetened condensed milk adds additional sweetness to your yams, and I like to get them real creamy, and that's, you know, what we have here in the bowl. And so that's my first step, is to process everything down and get it nice and smooth. Before I add anything else, I want to make sure that that step is right, because that's your texture of your actual pie. So once you do that and you blend it up, a much bigger blender would be nice, but I manage with the small blender. It works perfectly fine. There was a piece of skin in there, but it's fiber. It ain't gonna hurt you. And once it blends up, you won't even know it. But yeah, it gets nice and smooth, and I don't like a lumpy pie. I don't like a pie that's not consistently mixed, like it's just blotchy, and you know, it should be an even color, and it should be nicely mixed. So I take the bottom off and get everything out of my mixer. That NutriBullet blender, by the way, is the best blender ever. But yeah, so here it is, nice and smooth, and no lumps, no bumps. You know, it's a couple lumps and bumps in there, but it's, for the most part, the texture is really consistent. You know, and at this point you can taste it and see where your sweetness is, and see how much sugar you're going to have to add. But you can you have to taste it before you put the eggs in. So I save that for last. Then I put my ground allspice, very little of that, some ground cinnamon, and nutmeg. Those are the 3 spices that I use in my sweet potato pie. And after you mix it, you're going to add more eventually. I put a little vanilla extract in there too. This is the secret ingredient, lemon curd. It adds tartness, it helps balance the sweetness, it adds creaminess, it adds a richness to it. It really is the perfect thing to add to a sweet potato pie. Some people say put lemon juice in there, but adding lemon curd is just like that next level of, like, people are gonna eat the pie and be like, what is making this taste so good? That could be your secret ingredient, because that's what I've been using for years, and I've always getting rave reviews about my pies. So people send messages in the middle of me recording, but I'll never understand. But anyway, that's my secret ingredient. So I wound up using the whole jar for that amount of potatoes. I needed to add some more brown sugar and cinnamon, and I always add a little bit of flour. That's my mother's secret ingredient, because it gives it more of a cakey feel to your pie instead of it being wet and like really loose. It really helps it to stand up and have some structure by adding just that little bit of flour. And I mixed it up and I tasted it, but I almost forgot to put the eggs in. So here are 6 eggs that, actually it was 7 eggs that I put into the pie. It might have been 1 too many, but it was all right. I beat the eggs up first before I added them in, and I slowly put them into my batter. And you should be able to mix a pie or mix a cake or mix anything with your hand. You don't need a stand mixer, or it helps, but go in there and mix that pie up. Go in there and beat that thing up. You know, I could cook anything with the most minimum amount of tools, because it's all about knowing flavor, ingredients, and you know, and you can get it done. You know, so the only thing I use is that blender to get that first initial creaminess. But after that, I mix everything by hand, and then I blind bake my pie crust. Those are clearly homemade because I home make everything. No, I'm only kidding. It's okay to buy a good quality store-bought crust. It helps save time. But the thing is, you have to blind bake it. Do not put your batter in there and bake it raw like that. You have to poke it with a fork so that it doesn't raise up, because it'll raise up on you, you know. And then you put it in the oven for at least 7 minutes to bake up a little bit. And then you put your pie filling in. And you want to make it nice. Don't just pour it in there. Put some kind of swirl on top. Make people know that it was homemade, you know. And really take your time and put the filling into the pie crust. Don't overfill them. You want them right just a little bit below that lip, you know. I kind of like mine a little heavy on filling, but